There is so much stuff to see in Far Cry 6, but let's take it a little bit further. What's some secret stuff? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 20 Far Cry Easter eggs. Starting off at number 20, the Ghost of the Broken Father. We're gonna start off with a good one here. In the Santo Amato Cemetery, there's a pretty creepy surprise waiting for you if you go there at night. Go into the central room and read this note about a ghost haunting the cemetery. When you back out, you'll get hit by a jump scare out of nowhere where this ghostly figure points you towards a specific grave. There you can find a crying ghost and a note which says that the wife of the grieving father went to live at Casa Dario. If you actually head out to this place, you'll find another even creepier scene with a trail of blood leading into the well. If you go down into it, you'll find a corpse and another ghost, this time showing you how he killed his wife because she was happy or whatever. It's a pretty grim little ghost story, but in a game where the world is this big, it's pretty cool to find, honestly.
Number 19.
Far Cry 4 did it, Far Cry 5 did it, and now of course so does this game. All these contain a little secret bonus ending where your character decides to just not do anything. It's super anticlimactic, but it's pretty funny that they even give you the option to just bug out instead of, playing the game. In Far Cry 6, the option comes after you clear out the blockade on the starting island. Your allies give you a boat and the option either leave for America or join the revolution, and it's an actual option. You can, if you want, just get on the boat and ride out into the sea. Travel far enough and the game will just fade to black and show the secret ending where Danny is relaxed on a beach while a news report talks about the revolution being squashed in Jada. So it's not arguably the best ending compared to the other ones, but it looks like your character's pretty comfortable at least. And number 18 is the Indiana Jones Easter egg. There's a whole treasure hunt called the Emerald Skull that you can find that's definitely an Indiana Jones reference. Alright, the obvious reference here is Alan Quartermain, because the notes you find are from a Dr. Halfmain, but a glowing skull plays a prominent role also, so it's kind of both. It's a pretty fun treasure hunt, so there's traps. Use this skull to unlock some treasures, and at the end you find the whole thing was made off by Halfman to protect the treasure. Apparently he built all these traps and set up the glowing lights and stuff. It's goofy, but it's all fun. And number 17 is the Banana Thief, an inside joke that we're probably missing, but for some reason you can find a pile of bananas and a picture of a dog hidden in multiple locations around Jada. On the GDP oil platform, there's actually a note from someone complaining about a banana thief and mentions each of these locations, so that's pretty much all we have to go by on this. One banana cache was found on this little platform outside the oil rig, another in this little shack outside Maria Marquesa Productions, at the Cortina weather station where you can find a real banana horde in an underground bunker, and there's a final one hidden on top of the smokestack at the Dolce Sugar Mill. Why is there a picture of a dog at each of these locations? Is the banana thief a dog, or do they own a dog? Who knows? But I've got a soft spot for this one because it's a Boston Terrier, which is a good dog. Even though if they possibly maybe also steal bananas, I really don't know what's going on here, to be honest. And number 16 is an Assassin's Creed Leap of Faith. I mean, it's a Ubisoft game, so of course there's going to be some Assassin's Creed references in there. One of the best ones can be found right on the starting island. You look for this tower in the Vencejo area, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but not too hard to find. You climb up it and you see an Assassin's Creed style board used to guide players up to where you jump off buildings into the pile of hay below. Like, assassins love jumping into piles of hay. So you're like, hey man, yeah. But it doesn't work so well here. The thing that makes it obvious that it's Assassin's Creed's thing is the eagle sound that plays anytime you stand on this specific ledge. It's the sound that always plays when you climb up to a viewing spot. That's really what gives the Easter egg away. At number 15, some general Ubisoft Easter eggs. There's a bunch more Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft Easter eggs hidden around the world in this game, but they're mostly text-based, so we'll run them down quickly in the next few points. In this place called the Invicto Bunker, there's a crumpled note with a few references on it. There's the Golden Apple artifact, which sounds a lot like the Apple of Eden that was so important in the first few Assassin's Creed games, as well as this crate marked Electrum, which is actually a form of money in Ubisoft's quickly forgotten game, Starlink Battle for Atlas. Immortals Phoenix Rising also had a currency called Electrum in it, so I guess Ubisoft just likes that word. At number 14, another note, in Aguas Lindas, you can find the Cash Money Treasure Hunt, which has you investigating a bunker filled with banned cultural stuff. On a note you can find, there's references to an ancient spear, once broken, repaired multiple times. This is, of course, a reference to the Leonidas spear from Assassin's Creed. There's also the knife of Chinese origin, which features silver dragon iconography. That's the treasure you go after in Far Cry 3, as well as the most obvious one, a pair of ancient concealed blades can be extended and retracted from a gauntlet, which is clearly the iconic weapon from the Assassin's Creed series. At number 13 is a Starlink reference. There's something else in this bunker too. A Starlink ship model that comes with an attached note that says that it's literally from the game Starlink. Like, I wonder if the developers worked on that game or something, because it's probably the most I've ever heard someone mention Starlink ever, like anywhere, other than like in the game Starlink. And number 12, dashboard prop Easter eggs. There are more Ubisoft ones. If you look at the dashboard props tab for your vehicle, there's a ton of little models of characters from various Ubisoft games. Assassin's Creed, For Honor, Rainbow Six Siege, Splinter Cell, Watch Dogs, and more actually. Probably the most bizarre is Nox, the character from the eternally unreleased Beyond Good and Evil 2. Maybe we'll see some activity with that at some point, or maybe they're just, shoving that in our face for fun. These people are sick. At number 11 is this tiny text Easter egg, a dumb little one that you can find at the FND Special Forces base. Inside the armory, you can find a framed jersey that's part of a mission. You're supposed to pick it up without looking too closely, but if you get a sniper rifle and zoom in on the plaque, you can find some tiny text that says, "This text is so small and you can't read it." It might not even supposed to be an Easter egg. It could just be like placeholder text that got left in the game, but either way, it's honestly pretty funny. And number 10 is this QR code Easter egg. There's QR codes printed on basically any uncovered box in this game. And while your in-game camera doesn't have code scanning apps, if you use a real one, you can get this cryptic 6-second video showing off a lot of stuff. I don't know, hard to describe really beyond that. It is unclear what is supposed to be happening, but there's some speculation this is either about Far Cry Battle Royale or something to do with an upcoming DLC. The later theory has a little more evidence to it. There is some text that says Cloud Temple, and a lot of the visuals look like Kyrat from Far Cry 4. And these are possible locations you could visit during the Pagan Min DLC. There may be more to this later, but right now we don't really know what this little secret's about. There's another QR code in this game too. If you have the Blood Dragon bonus content, and you look at K9000 the crime dog, you'll see he's got a QR code on his collar. Scan that and you get a little promo material from that Blood Dragon Netflix cartoon called Captain Laserhawk, which I totally forgot was a thing at all. At number 9, there's a few photo mode Easter eggs. A quick note, there's a few familiar poses you can pull off in photo mode. One is the poster to Platoon for some reason. There's Joseph Seed's pose from Far Cry 5. And there's this pose from the promotional material from Far Cry 3. Funny thing is, Voss never actually does this in the real game. That promo stuff with the guy with the half-buried head is so memorable that it makes sense that Voss's pose would show up here again. And number 8 is a certain CIA agent's dog tags. There's another small one. In Juan's workshop, you can find a box containing some CIA dog tags you can attach to your weapon. The text on them is small, but if you look closely, there is a name here. Willis Huntley, the agent that appeared in Far Cry 3, 4, and 5. Huntley isn't in this game at all, but I would guess Juan has a little bit of history with this guy, or maybe it's just a reference.
Number 7.
Mesozoica is one big Jurassic Park reference. Of the two special operations available at launch, Mesozoica is definitely the cooler of the two. Set in a dinosaur amusement park place, the whole thing has Jurassic Park vibes around it, but there's not any direct references unless you hit this button near the entrance. There's a little introductory message that ends with,
"Welcome to Mesozoic Park,"
which sounds suspiciously like the big intro to Jurassic Park. So yeah, there aren't any live dinosaurs here or anything, but it's still a pretty cool place to check out. At number 6, Pagan Min is in. Of course, there's got to be a few more Far Cry references hidden in there as well. At the start of the game, when you meet Juan, he mentions Kyrat, the country from Far Cry 4. Later on, but still pretty early in the game, you're tasked with assassinating a commander inspecting a bunker. Inside that bunker, with a little looking around, you'll find a magazine with Pagan Min's face plastered on it. Being both the main bad guy from Far Cry 4 and the leader of the Kyrat, who knows what his fate is supposed to be canonically, but at least he's getting a shout out in the game. And number 5 is a note from Herk. Ubisoft said before the game that Herk was not going to be appearing, and that was to the disappointment of people who are apparently fans of Herk. Even though he's not in Jada in person, he's at least here in spirit though, and while the game never specifically says so, the writing on this note attached to a shipping container that has Boom Boom in it has got to be from Herk. Apparently, Boom Boom, actually Boomer from Far Cry 5, snuck into the container because it wasn't properly secured. A basic thing that he somehow manages to screw up? Sounds like Herk to me. And I haven't seen this mentioned anywhere else, but this big cat in a cage in one of the containers is a cougar from Montana, right? Like, it looks like the local cats as far as I can tell. And number 4 is a farm burning mission. Here's an obvious one, but we have to mention it. One of the first missions in the game has you go to a farm and burn down all the crops, which is suspiciously similar to the goal of a mission from Far Cry 3, where you had to burn down Voss's weed farms. It even has a song playing over the action while you're doing it. At the end, your character even says, "That felt familiar," just to hammer in that this is a reference to that classic mission. And at number 3, a fast travel Easter egg. For some reason, Danny's got a few fourth wall breaking lines in this game. One shows up when you take this first mission from Talia, where she wants to meet you at the zoo. You hear this exchange. Talia asks, "You at the zoo yet?" And Danny responds, "No, what am I supposed to do, teleport?" Which is a little joke about how you're always fast traveling around in these games. Yeah, it's not supposed to be literally teleporting, but it might as well be. Time doesn't pass when you fast travel, and when you airdrop, there isn't a helicopter anywhere in sight. So yeah, it's basically teleporting. At number 2, Sean McKay just keeps talking. In the final part of the final mission, you're given a choice. Either kill Sean McKay, Anton Castillo's Canadian backer, or let him go. If you let him go and turn around to leave, he'll get on his phone and start talking and talking and talking. Like, he goes on for like 5 minutes. It is ridiculous. And most players will just immediately exit the mission by going through the door. Most of the stuff he says is just total nonsense. But he references a few previous Far Cry characters like Agent Willis and Longinus, the weapons dealer from Far Cry 4. I can't imagine many people will stick around for it, but it's pretty funny they put so much dialogue here in a place that most players will never ever listen to. And number 1 is the post-credits scene in a first for the Far Cry series. The game actually has a Metal Gear Solid type post-credits scene. Literally just 2 voices over a blank screen, but the implications are pretty wild. In it, we hear Juan talking to a mysterious smuggler. It sounds like Juan is selling Viviro to this dude, which is kind of a surprise, but the thing everyone's talking about is the other voice on the line. The smuggler is voiced by Michael Mondo, the guy who played Voss in Far Cry 3. He's one of the most memorable villains in the entire series and kind of underutilized in Far Cry 3, so this could be a teaser for Voss returning at some point. We know he'll be starring in the first DLC, but they're clearly non-canon thing. Maybe you'll get some new missions in the main game, or this could be a teaser for the eventual Far Cry 7. Who knows, but it definitely looks like Voss is back somehow. He seemed pretty definitively dead in Far Cry 3, but they could write around that pretty easily if they wanted to, and they clearly do. That's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.